come to this mausoleum almost every September for the past 6 years to pay homage to my mother. Today, I sit across from her crypt to write in a journal at the suggestion of my therapist. Her theory is that if I commit these episodes to paper, I'll realize it's just my grief and not the haunted encounters I claim to have had. It all started during my second year's visit, right after I told my mother I had applied to a performing arts college, a thing that she was against. That year, I experienced an odd tingle up my spine, saw something in my periphery. I thought someone was behind me, but when I spun around, I was alone. Nerves, I thought, but my unease progressed to nausea. So I hurried to the office located near the entrance and asked Esther, the office secretary, if she'd seen anyone else in the building. I felt as if I was being watched, I told her. Maybe it was the witch, said a voice from behind me. I turned to find a man in dirt-covered jeans, sporting long gray hair and a scruffy beard. He held out his hand. "Lenny Connor, groundskeeper," he said. A little confused, I shook his hand, but I looked at Esther for an explanation. She, in turn, reached under the counter to retrieve a pamphlet which she handed to me. "Legend says," she began, "that deep in the ground under this mausoleum lie the bones of a witch, a woman who in 1705 was beaten to death because people claimed she had cursed them. The story tells us that she was dragged here and left to rot, to sink into unconsecrated earth. At the time, this land was dank forest on the outskirts of the village, and the townspeople expected that she would be forgotten. Instead," Esther leans forward, "she walks through time and through these halls." "You don't really believe that," I said. She shrugged her shoulders. The groundskeeper replied. "Why not?" he said. "Other visitors claim to have had the same feeling. Plus," he smiled, "gruesome tales bring in extra funding around Halloween in the form of ghost tours." Not knowing what else to say, I thanked them and returned to my car so I could look at the pamphlet. The pamphlet contains a tale originally written in 1842 by one Hildegard van Valk, who alleged that her great-great-grandmother heard the story in her youth from an irrefutable eyewitness, the witch's daughter. It reads, "Hester, whom today some would call witch, was referred to in her time as a cunning woman. She lived outside the village, and her advice was sought for various ailments that afflicted humans and livestock. She had a mishapen daughter named Sarah, who she kept leashed to their house with a rope tied around Sarah's waist and attached to an exposed beam. When anyone came by, Sarah was unbound, herded into the root cellar, and told to be quiet. She was a good daughter. She always did what mother wished. One evening, a mob came toward their home. Sarah, from her place in the cellar, heard men shouting, and then the door banged open. She heard a thwack, and something heavy hit the floor. She heard groans and muffled thumps. Sarah knew they were beating her mother, and although it broke her heart, she remained hidden, as a good daughter should. When it became quiet, that good daughter crept from the cellar. She followed a red trail out the door and into the forest. She found her mother, bloodied and without breath, in a heap on the ground. Sarah's mouth opened in a silent scream. She pulled at her hair. She wept soundless tears. Bent and crippled, Sarah scraped at the earth with a found piece of shale. She dug a shallow grave and rolled her mother into the ditch, adjusting her so she rested on her back. That good daughter pulled from the folds of her worn dress an oval mirror to which she had fastened leather straps, so she could attach it to a gourd or a pillow to keep her company when in the cellar or on long winter nights. She placed the mirror over her mother's shattered face and tied the straps tightly. Sarah's own dirt-stained face reflected back, and she smiled. This was good. She would forever shine in Mother's eyes. Creepy. I tossed that pamphlet into the back seat and started my car. But driving home, I wondered if I was like Sarah, if I was still trying to shine in my mother's eyes, to still be a good daughter. I thought I was just being paranoid, but things got so much worse the next year.